the type to beat up the bad guy when things turn ugly.
My name is Waffles, and I'm a government whistleblower turned political commentator, and this is the last 24 hours in the news. Today is September 1st, 2025. It is 3:31 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Here are the top U.S. news highlights for the past 24 hours. Federal appeals court rules most of President Trump's tariffs are unlawful. That happened on August 29th. The U.S. Federal Appeals Court concluded a large portion of the administration's reciprocal tariffs exceeded statutory authority. The court delayed immediate enforcement of its decision to allow time for an appeal. The administration is expected to consider next steps, including a Supreme Court appeal. This is a major judicial constraint on trade policy. Federal judge blocks expansion of expedited fast-track deportations within the last 24 hours. So this is a recent development. U.S. District Judge Gia M. Cobb issued an order halting the administration's plan to broaden expedited removals inside the U.S., finding due process concerns. The injunction directly curtails a central administration enforcement tool and will be the subject of appeal. Local leaders move to resist federal enforcement actions in Chicago. Chicago's mayor and Illinois leadership have issued executive measures and public statements aimed at limiting cooperation with anticipated federal immigration enforcement activity. The mayor signed an order requiring transparency from federal agents operating in the city and directing city developments to limit cooperation. Officials frame this as protecting civil rights and local authority. Federal enforcement mobilization signaled for U.S. cities, Chicago in focus. In the last 24 hours, the Department of Homeland Security and other federal officials confirmed stepped-up ICE resources heading to Chicago, and the White House has publicly threatened deployment to cities described as failing on crime. Chicago and Illinois officials have publicly vowed legal resistance, and non-cooperation. Governor and mayors are warning that this could raise tensions and civil liberties risks. At this time, reporting shows preparations and local countermeasures. Not documented wide-scale military combat operations against civilians, but the situation is actively escalating. Trade authority checked by the courts, economic policy uncertain. The appeals court ruling that most tariffs are unlawful constraints on the administration's unilateral trade levers and introduces legal market uncertainty, possible effects on prices, supply chains, and trade retaliation depending on appellate outcomes. Immigration enforcement expansion stalled by the courts. The injunction against expanding expedited removals limits immediate deportation operations that could have affected large numbers of residents and communities, reducing short-term civil liberties and community safety risks tied to mass rapid removals, but the administration may appeal. State, local, federal clashes risk disrupting services. Public conflict, Chicago, Illinois versus the federal government raises a chance of service coordination breakdowns, e.g. law enforcement, information sharing, joint operations, or shelter immigrant services. If escalation continues, local leaders warn such escalation could harm community well-being. Major Verizon wireless outage affected large metro areas. Yesterday, mostly restored. A widespread Verizon outage tied to a reported software issue disrupted voice and data in multiple U.S. metros, Bay Area, New York, Chicago, Miami, Boston. Verizon engineers worked through the evening and most service was restored, but pockets of disruption persisted into the next day, raising short-term public safety concerns for those relying on cellular access for emergency contact. Monitor Verizon's network status page and outage trackers for lingering problems. Consumer action, check carrier status pages, enable Wi-Fi calling if available, keep alternate contact methods, landline family members, and be aware that text to 911 availability varies by jurisdiction. Public health update, ongoing salmonella outbreak linked to eggs, recall in effect, CDC, FDA. Federal investigators traced a multi-state salmonella outbreak to eggs distributed by Country Eggs LLC. The FDA and CDC advised consumers not to eat, sell, or serve recalled cartons. Code CA7695 affected sell-by dates listed by the CDC. The recall and investigation are active. Consumers and food service operators should check CDC, FDA guidance, and recall lists before serving eggs. No new national public health emergency declared in the last 24 hours. International relations, U.S. actions impact in the last 24 hours. U.S. revokes, denies visas for Palestinian officials ahead of UN General Assembly. The State Department announced visa denials and revocations affecting President Mahmoud Abbas and roughly 80 other Palestinian officials ahead of UNGA. The move has drawn diplomatic pushback and could affect U.S. relations with regional and European partners during the UN session. Ongoing trade and tariff disputes are factoring into international economic conversations and summit dynamics. Ongoing legal actions involving the Trump administration, tariff litigation, appeals court decision. The Federal Appeals Court ruling that most tariffs are unlawful is the largest judicial development affecting administration policy in the last 24 hours. The administration may appeal to the Supreme Court. This case likely directly challenges a major executive economic policy. Injunctions limiting immigration enforcement expansions. Judge G.M. Cobb. The federal injunction blocking expedited removal expansions is a fresh judicial restraint and is being litigated and appealed. Civil liberties groups are engaging and preparing for continued legal battles. Other litigation remains active. Civil suits, state AG challenges, and other administrative law cases. Chicago Public Safety Bulletin. That might be something people might want to consider putting out there for things like what to expect if federal agents operate in the city, how to verify, identify authority, what your rights are if you're detained, and legal hotlines. Let's start raising some public awareness in regards to public safety, particularly in Chicago. Advisories for this issue with landlines and lack of ability to call 911 might also be useful for people using Verizon service across the United States. Some things you guys can make some videos on. Recalls, dietary supplement, green lumber, that's what it's called. Recalled due to presence of undeclared prescription drug, tadalafil. Hans Kissel Red Bliss potato salad recalled for containing undeclared wheat allergen risk. Recent U.S. job layoff announcements, according to U.Search layoff tracker, real-time data feed. The following layoffs were announced in the past day. Shell EV Charging Solutions Americas laying off 114 employees. Pepsi laying off 83 employees. Ford Motor Company of Southern Africa laying off 470 employees, although not in the U.S., included in the same 24-hour tracker update. Here are the key U.S. trade and economic highlights from the past 24 hours. U.S.-TR trade talks continue despite court setback. Despite a federal appeals court ruling that most of President Trump's emergency tariffs are illegal, U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer confirmed today that negotiations with trade partners remain ongoing. The administration is exploring alternative legal authorities such as a 1930 trade law to sustain tariffs and heading toward a possible Supreme Court appeal. It's kind of hard to sit here and just like talk a whole bunch. Um, U.S. tariffs dampen Asia factory activity. U.S. tariffs continue to punch through global supply chains, weighing on manufacturing in Asia. Today's data shows that factory activity across the region contracted notably, reinforcing concerns about broader economic fallout if aggression trade posture. Still, China showed relative resilience amid the downturn in regional manufacturing. Gold surges on Fed rate cut expectations. Gold prices rose to a 4-month high on speculation that the Federal Reserve could cut interest rates later this month. Silver reached a 14-year peak as markets priced in a potential pivot from the Fed amid signs of economic softening. Investors eye August jobs data amid Fed uncertainty. Markets are bracing for this week's August employment report following lackluster July figures. Investors are increasingly hopeful that weak job creation might prompt a Fed rate cut in September, which makes no sense to me why they would even consider doing a rate cut for weak job creation. Yeah, sure, let's shove people further into debt. That's going to fix the jobs problem. That makes no sense to me. Meanwhile, the lawsuit filed by Fed Governor Lisa Cook against President Trump for his attempted removal raises political pressure on central bank independence. Global markets brace for September risks, with summer trading giving way to heightened volatility. Global markets are entering September under pressure. Key risk factors include uncertainties around U.S. fiscal policy, trade legal challenges, and impending federal jobs data, creating a fragile economic backdrop. And remember, kids, the stock market is not the economy. Just because the S&P 500 and Dow Jones may be performing, it does not mean that wages are growing, jobs are secure, inflation is under control, or that people are thriving. Here's the upcoming hazardous weather outlook for the next few days. Northeast and East Coast. Dry conditions persist, plenty of sunshine and moderate temperatures ideal for outdoor activity. No hazardous weather expected. Southeast and mid-Atlantic, scattered thunderstorms may develop Monday, while most areas will stay calm. Localized storms might produce brief heavy rain or lightning. Tuesday clears out. Midwest and Great Plains, a few isolated storms could occur on Monday. Conditions dry out by Tuesday with comfortable temperatures. South and Gulf Coast, generally minimal storm activity expected. Monday may bring a slight chance of pop-up showers. Conditions improve by Tuesday. Southwest and desert regions, stable, generally dry weather expected. Monday and Tuesday bring sun and warmth, but no immediate heat advisories or storms. Still safe, but stay hydrated. Rocky Mountains and Intermountain West, calm weather continues. No monsoonal flare-ups or thunderstorm risk currently shown. Conditions remain stable. Pacific Northwest and Northern California, dry and comfortable through the period. Mild temperatures and sunshine dominate, great for travel and outdoor plans. Southern California, a significant heat advisory is in effect through Tuesday evening. Inland areas, valleys, inland empire, desert are facing triple-digit highs, 102 to 111 degrees Fahrenheit through Tuesday. Coastal zones will be milder, though warming. Central U.S., mid-south, parts of the plains. Even though national maps show minimal activity, deeper analysis per WPC indicates that heavy rainfall and flash flood risks may develop Monday into midweek, notably across Arkansas, Missouri, and Mid-South, due to slow-moving systems. Monitor updates through the weekend. Space weather, Aurora Watch, NOAA alerts suggest a cannibal solar storm, a collision of two CMEs, may reach Earth late Monday into early Tuesday. This could spark visible northern lights at mid-latitudes under clear skies. Stay tuned for updates. That's coming from AOL.com. Space weather Aurora Watch. Here are some of the top international news highlights from the past 24 hours. SCO Summit. Xi Jinping welcomes Putin and Modi in China. President Xi Jinping staged a high-profile summit in Tianjin with more than a dozen leaders, including Russia's Vladimir Putin and India's Narendra Modi, projecting a message of global South solidarity. Putin and Xi are expected to hold bilateral talks reflecting deepening geopolitical alignment. I'm very concerned to see that these two are now collaborating with each other. I'm very concerned that these two are possibly cooperating and engaging in a coup against the United States using Donald Trump as a tool to act against the United States on behalf of BRICS. That is a personal concern of mine, so I'm not happy to see that Xi Jinping is now colluding with Putin. U.S. post-war vision for Gaza unveiled. A leaked plan circulating within the Trump administration proposes a decade-long U.S. administration of Gaza post-conflict. The plan includes relocating Gaza's population and rebuilding the territory as a tourist and manufacturing hub. So after they're done doing all of this harm to all of these people, you can walk around as a tourist in Trump's future in this place where all of these people got murdered. That sounds really fucking disgusting, to turn a war zone into a tourist attraction. There's gotta be something wrong with you if something like that were to even happen, if you were to choose to visit a place like that. All of those prisoners better be released and relocated, and completely anybody who has been taken captive by Israel needs to be let go if you're going to have some weird tourist thing going on where these, war criminals have been slaughtering innocent civilians. I mean, considering the human trafficking shit that I feel like I'm witnessing, I have concerns about what is happening to the women here in the United States as well as in Gaza. I'm very concerned about what these war criminals, and I'm including Trump in the category of war criminal based on the things I've been seeing him do, are doing. And why it is that they're trying to prop something like that up, why they're even discussing propping something like that up in Israel. And I'm going to say, if they attempt to proceed with, or not Israel, Palestine, if they attempt to proceed with any sorts of plans of doing something like that, they better let all of those people go free to safety. The fuck away from them. Russia shoots down 112 Ukrainian drones. Russia's defense military reported that it downed 112 Ukrainian drones in the past 24 hours and also targeted port infrastructure being used for military operations. Rudy Giuliani, Trump's former lawyer, hospitalized after car crash. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani was hospitalized following a car accident in Manchester, New Hampshire, late Saturday evening. Based on what I'm hearing, he had like a broken pelvis or something. I don't know, sounds like he got slammed pretty hard, which makes me wonder if this was a high-speed attack. I have not looked into it. I don't care very much. I just want to know what the fuck is happening. I'm not trying to go too in detail on certain things. But if it was a high-speed accident, then I would assume that somebody probably targeted him and deliberately hit him. U.S. blocks Palestinian officials from UNGA in New York. President Mahmoud Abbas and approximately 80 Palestinian delegates were barred from attending the upcoming United Nations General Assembly sessions in New York by the U.S., intensifying diplomatic tensions. Veterans advocate for Afghan allies amid funding cuts. U.S. military veterans and advocacy groups pushed back on funding cuts to aid programs for Afghan allies who served alongside U.S. forces during and after the withdrawal from Afghanistan. We have rallies and protests taking place in D.C. over Trump's deployment. Some suspicious legislation. This is a reminder. I have an account on TikTok where I try to keep track of any additional news issues that we need to be paying attention to. That is Waffles Mcgrawl News Network, I think is what I have it titled. There's like a advisory on the top of like most of my profiles that tells you where to go. So, I mean, if you want to keep on top of some of this other stuff that I'm not able to get in these reports, go over there. There are other people reporting that I am trying to push out there into the public eye so they can be seen and they can be heard. And they are doing just a fine job covering on these things, so I don't need to cover the things that they are covering because they're covering it. So I'll just make sure y'all can see these people. So if you want to stay on top of some of that stuff, you know, go look me up on Facebook and find, or I'm sorry, not Facebook, TikTok, and find that account. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. This concludes our news session. And today is the 1st of September. It is 3:52 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.
So the Olympics is great. And Johnny, for the others, you know, the World Cup, Johnny is the head of it. We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup, too. And, you know, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. You know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup. And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election and now we won. So I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So Johnny, thank you for the World Cup. And everybody, thank you for the Olympics. We're going to have a great time.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment to my videos. And also, don't forget to check out my shop where you could get this awesome Real Patriots Punch Nazis t-shirt. America, fuck yeah! And if you go to the link tree in my bio on most platforms, it's got links to everything, all of my stuff. You can find my shop there. I'm on eBay. You can also get this cool Exterminate MAGA sticker, because MAGA's fucking cockroaches. And fuck MAGA. Abolish MAGA. Fuck you, MAGA.